After her husband threw me out for being honest about my feelings, my mom begged me to move back in, but I'm happier without them. I'm 17 now, but this all started when I was still 16. For the past 8 months, I've been living with my grandparents, and honestly, I've been happier and more at peace here than I ever was at my mom's place. The whole situation is messy, emotional, and complicated, but the short version is, my mom read my private journal, she confronted me about what I wrote, her husband overheard everything, and he ended up telling me to get out of his house. It wasn't like I ran away in anger or slammed the door behind me. I actually left pretty quietly. My mom cried and begged me to stay, but after what happened, I couldn't look at her husband the same way, and I didn't feel like her house was home anymore. So, here I am, nearly a year later. My mom wants me to move back in. She insists we can become a family if I just come home, but I don't want to. She thinks I'm being cold and stubborn, but to me, it feels like choosing what's healthiest for me. Still, I can't help but wonder if that makes me the asshole. To give some context, my mom remarried a few years ago. She and her husband have a daughter together, my half-sister, who's 4 now. She's adorable, and I've always treated her kindly, but I never felt that deep big sister bond with her. It wasn't like I hated her or anything, but it felt different from how I love my older brother. Apparently, that difference really worried my mom. She always imagined I would be the doting older sister, the one who'd help out with the baby, shower her with affection, and treat her like my world. But the truth is, I didn't. I wasn't mean, but I wasn't overly attached either. To me, she was just a little kid I happened to live with. And here's the part that really caused everything to explode. My mom snooped in my journal. She told me later that she was concerned about certain behaviors, and that she felt I wasn't being honest about my feelings if she asked me directly. So, she decided to check my private writing to find the truth. Of course, in my journal, I had been brutally honest, because that's what a journal is for, right? I had written about how I didn't feel a real connection to my half-sister, how I was just polite and kind because I didn't want to be rude, not because I truly saw her as family. I also wrote about my mom's husband, how I didn't like him, how I tolerated him only for my mom's sake, and how in my heart, I didn't see him as family. One specific entry hit her hard. I had written about the time he forced me to skip a wedding on my dad's side of the family because it was his only day off, and he wanted a family day. That really upset me, because to me, my dad's family is my family, and missing that wedding felt like losing something important. In my journal, I call him an asshole for it. When my mom confronted me, she wasn't angry so much as desperate. She kept asking me to explain, to tell her that I didn't really mean it, to reassure her that I loved her husband and daughter as family. She was almost begging for a different answer. But I couldn't lie. I told her exactly how I felt, that I love her, that technically, yes, my half-sister is family by blood, but her husband? To me, he's just the guy she married. That's when everything really blew up. Right as I finished saying that to my mom, that she's my family, my half-sister technically is too, but her husband is just a man she married. He walked into the room. Turns out, he had been standing outside the whole time listening. The look on his face was pure rage. He didn't even try to hide it. He burst in and basically exploded at me. If I'm not your father figure, if I'm just some guy, and if my daughter isn't good enough for you, then you can get the hell out of my house. I remember just sitting there in shock. My mom immediately jumped up, shouting at him to stop, telling him I was still a kid and this wasn't the way to handle things. But he wouldn't listen. He kept saying things like, she doesn't respect me, she doesn't love her sister, why should she live under my roof? It was like everything I had written, every private thought I never meant to say out loud, suddenly became ammo for him to use against me. My mom tried to calm him down, insisting I wasn't leaving, that we could work through this as a family. But honestly, in that moment, I didn't want to stay. I felt cornered, exposed, unwanted. He had made it crystal clear how he saw me. Not as his stepdaughter, not as part of the household, but as some outsider he was putting up with until I crossed the line. So, while they were yelling at each other, I quietly pulled out my phone and texted my grandpa. Can you come get me? I need to leave. He didn't ask questions, just said yes. I went to my room and started packing. I only took the things that were truly mine. Clothes, books, personal stuff. Anything my mom or her husband had bought me, I left behind. I didn't want to give him the satisfaction of saying I was using his money while refusing to call him family. It was strangely calm for me. I wasn't crying or screaming. I just folded my clothes, zipped up my bag, and sat on the edge of my bed until I saw my grandpa's car pull up outside. When I came back downstairs with my bag, my mom looked devastated. She was crying, begging me to stay, say we could talk about this more. Her husband, on the other hand, just stood there with his arms crossed, glaring at me like I had already betrayed him beyond repair. I hugged my mom quickly. I was still angry at her for reading my journal, but she's still my mom, and I didn't want to leave without saying goodbye. Then I walked out the door. My grandpa gave me a look like he understood everything without me having to explain, and we drove away. That night, when I unpacked in my grandparents' spare room, it felt weirdly freeing. The house was quiet. Nobody was yelling. Nobody was waiting to catch me slipping up or pressuring me to feel something I didn't feel. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt safe. Of course, it wasn't that simple. My mom texted me nonstop, saying she didn't mean for things to go this far, that her husband just lost his temper, and that I should come back soon. But I couldn't. The way he looked at me, the way he told me to get out, it wasn't something I could just forget. So I stayed. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. And before I knew it, I'd been living with my grandparents for 8 months straight. Living with my grandparents turned out to be the most stable and peaceful stretch of my life in years. They weren't perfect, but their home felt safe. There was no tension in the air, no constant measuring of whether I was being affectionate enough toward my half-sister or respectful enough toward my mom's husband. I could just exist. I still saw my mom. She'd call me, visit me at my grandparents' house, or sometimes we'd meet up for coffee or lunch. She always cried at least once during those visits. She would tell me over and over again how much she missed me, how broken the house felt without me, how my half-sister would ask where I was. And every time, I felt guilty, like I was abandoning her. But then I'd remember the night I left. The rage in her husband's voice. The way he said I wasn't part of the family, that I could just go be with the people I actually cared about. That memory always brought me back to reality. No matter how much I love my mom, her husband doesn't want me there. Eventually, my mom suggested therapy. She said we needed help learning how to be a family again, and that she couldn't do it on her own. At first, I resisted. The idea of sitting in a room with her husband, pretending to work on our bond, felt unbearable. But she begged, and I didn't want to completely shut her out. So I agreed to attend. Therapy was complicated. The therapist was kind and neutral, but I always felt like my mom was trying to use the sessions to prove something, that deep down, I did love her husband and my half-sister, and that I just needed to open up. Every session circled back to the same point. My mom's heartbreak that I didn't feel what she wanted me to feel. Her husband was quieter in therapy than I expected. He didn't explode like he did that night. Instead, he sat stiffly, arms folded, saying little. Occasionally, he made comments like, "She's just young. She'll grow out of this attitude," or "She needs to understand what loyalty means." It wasn't exactly violent, but it didn't make me feel safe either. I told the therapist the truth. I was happier in my grandparents. I felt calmer, freer. I could still see my mom and my half-sister without having to live in that environment. But my mom hated hearing that. She'd shake her head, tears streaming down her face, and say things like, "That's not how a family works. A family lives together under one roof. How can we bond if you're never home?" I remember one session clearly. The therapist asked my mom directly, "Are you planning to force her to move back in, or do you want her to choose willingly?" My mom answered, "I want her to come home willingly because she misses us, because she wants to be with us." That's when I realized the disconnect. My mom was waiting for me to break down, to admit that I couldn't live without them. She was waiting for me to say I regretted leaving, but I didn't. I missed her, sure. I missed my brother, who had already moved out years earlier. I even missed my half-sister in small, surface-level ways. But I didn't miss that house. I didn't miss her husband. So I told her the truth again. I don't want to move back. I'm happier at Grandpa and Grandma's. I still want to see you, but I don't want to live there. Her face crumpled. She started sobbing right there in the therapist's office. She said, "This isn't how we become a family. I thought you'd change your mind by now. I thought you'd miss us so much you'd come home." The therapist tried to comfort her, but the room felt unbearably heavy. I sat there wondering if I was being cruel. Was I heartless for not wanting to live under the same roof as her husband? Was I selfish for valuing my own peace over her dream of a complete family? That question has haunted me ever since. After that therapy session, things between my mom and me got even heavier. It wasn't that she was angry at me. Far from it. She was devastated. Every time we talked, it felt like she was begging me to rewrite my feelings, to give her the answer she desperately wanted. She'd say things like, "I know you think you're happier with Grandma and Grandpa, but that's just because you're running away from the real problem. You belong at home, with me, with your sister, with my husband." The way she phrased it, "with my husband," always hit me in the gut. It was like she couldn't separate her life with him from her relationship with me. Loving her meant, in her eyes, I had to love him too. And I just couldn't. Every visit, she'd bring up my half-sister. She'd tell me stories about how my little sister had started school, how she made friends, how she asked why I wasn't around as much. Mom would look at me with this pleading expression, like I was supposed to melt, and say, "Okay, I'll come home now." But I didn't. And then there were the guilt trips. She'd say things like, "I never thought I'd raise a child who didn't want to be part of her family." Or, "Do you know how much it hurts me to watch you choose them," meaning my grandparents, over me? The thing is, it wasn't about choosing my grandparents over her. I wanted her in my life. I wanted my little sister in my life. But I didn't want her husband in my life in the way she demanded. To me, he wasn't safe, he wasn't kind, and he certainly wasn't someone I could ever see as a father figure. And that seemed impossible for her to accept. There were nights I'd lie awake in my grandparents' house, wondering if maybe I was being selfish. Maybe I should just swallow my discomfort and go back, just to make my mom happy. But every time I thought about walking back into that house, I felt my chest tighten. The memory of being told to get out replayed in my mind, and it reminded me that my gut wasn't lying to me. My grandparents never pressured me. They told me, "This is your home for as long as you need it. Don't feel rushed. Don't feel guilty." But still, I could see the strain on my mom. She wanted me back under one roof, no matter how many times I said I was fine where I was. At one point, she asked me straight up, "Don't you miss us? Don't you miss home?" And I had to be honest. I miss you. I miss brother's name. I even miss my sister. But I don't miss that house. I don't miss him. She cried again. She said, "If you love me enough, you'd try harder. You'd give us another chance." And that broke me, because I do love her. She's my mom. But loving her doesn't mean sacrificing my own peace, my own boundaries, or my sense of safety. So I stood my ground. I told her, I don't want to move back in. I'm not saying I don't love you. I'm saying I can't live with him. It's better for me to stay here. I want to see you. I want to see my sister, but I can't be in that house. The look on her face, it was like I'd stabbed her. And maybe in her heart, that's how it felt. She kept shaking her head, whispering, "This isn't how families work. This isn't how families work." And that's when I realized, to her, family means everyone living under one roof, pretending everything is fine. To me, family means the people who make you feel safe, loved, and accepted. And those two definitions might never line up. After months of therapy, endless talks, tears, and guilt, I feel like I've finally reached a point where I know what I want. And what I want is to stay with my grandparents. I still see my mom. I still check in with my half-sister. And when I do, I'm kind to her and try to be present. None of this is her fault. She's just a little kid who deserves love and stability. I don't want her to grow up thinking I abandoned her. But I also don't want to pretend I feel something that I don't, just to ease my mom's fears. My mom keeps saying things like, "This isn't forever. You'll come home eventually." I know you will. But I don't think she realizes I am home. My grandparents' house is where I feel safe, where I can breathe, where I don't feel like I'm constantly disappointing someone just by existing. The hardest part in all of this is the guilt. I know my mom loves me. I know she wants this picture-perfect family in her head. But every time she cries, every time she says she thought I'd miss them enough to come home, I feel like I'm letting her down in the worst way possible. It's not that I don't love her. I do. I always will. But I can't love her husband the way she wants me to. I can't magically conjure sisterly devotion on command. And I can't erase the memory of being told to get the hell out by the man she chose to build a life with. So I'm stuck in this limbo, staying where I'm happy and healthy, while carrying the weight of knowing my mom is heartbroken. And that's why I'm here, Reddit. Am I the asshole for refusing to move back in with my mom and her husband after everything that happened? Am I selfish for choosing peace and stability with my grandparents over giving my mom the family under one roof she's begging me for? Sometimes I wonder if I should just give in, pack my things, and move back. Maybe it would make her happy. Maybe my sister would benefit from seeing me every day. Maybe I'd eventually get used to it. But deep down, I know that would mean sacrificing my own happiness for theirs. And isn't that what started this whole mess? Me hiding my real feelings just to make everyone else feel better? I don't want to live like that anymore. So here I am, 17 years old, caught between my mom's dream of a family and my own need for boundaries. She thinks I'll regret it someday. Maybe I will. But right now, all I feel is relief being away from that house, even if it means my mom cries every time she sees me. Ida?